Hello and welcome to Battle Tower. This week we're going to be talking about Crustle, uh, Serperior, Crustle Truth. I prefer the name Crustle Truth because it's kind of like the runner-up deck at the 2011 World Championships. It's called the Truth. It's kind of the same concept. I'm going to tell you right now that this deck is going to be kind of annoying to watch due to this little guy, Reuniclus. A lot of people have requested this deck. It's the reason why I'm doing it. Everyone seems to love this deck. I actually think that it's pretty well positioned, but there's some inherent disadvantages which I can't really get through. So how the deck works is Crustle has this ability called Sturdy that says when it's going to be knocked out, as long as it has full HP, its remaining HP becomes 10 instead. So what you do with that is you Reuniclus to move all the damage off of it and spread it around your board, and then Serperior to heal. And essentially every turn you can ensure that you don't get knocked out. Now, the one thing you're probably thinking is, well, what if you get knocked out by Target's Laser? That's why you have Virizion. We don't attack with grass at all, but we do have grass as an option to put on the Crustle so it can't die to any poison shenanigans. We have this Reshiram here. Kind of the same thing as the Truth back in 2011 ran at Worlds. You can put a lot of damage counters on it to Outrage for a lot of damage later in the game. And it's also just because of damage sink. If you don't quite have everything up, you can put 120 on him. And even really, you can put 130 on him if you really need to knock him out, if you really just need to get the damage cleared. We have one Reshiram, 1/1 Serperior. Serperior is important to the deck, but it's not completely essential. It's just good to have out. Virizion we were talking about, Mr. Mime, just standard in most decks. And then 3/1/3 Reuniclus. Sorry for the foilings on these guys. We really need Reuniclus. Without Reuniclus, this deck doesn't work at all, so that's why we have a pretty thick line of it. This deck is playable now because Catcher doesn't exist, because in the past they could just Catcher up the Reuniclus to knock it out and kind of end your whole strategy. 2 level balls, again, sorry for the foiling. A Search and a Dowsing Machine. 2 Max Potion. Max Potion is another way to heal off guys. Like you can put 120 onto Reshiram, Max Potion it off. You can put 80 onto Reuniclus, Max Potion it off. So it just kind of lessens your need for the Serperior. 4 Rare Candy. You have 2 Stage 2s in this deck. You're gonna need those. A Super Rod, 2 Switch, 1 Tool Scrapper. Important thing to note about Tool Scrapper is that this deck loses to Garbodor, considering that, let's see, Sturdy and Verdant Wind and Damage Swap and Royal Heal and Bench Barrier, all abilities. 3 Ultra Ball, so you really need a Tool Scrapper to be able to beat Garbodor. You also have the Dowsing Machine, so you can have 2 of him. I do not think this deck can actually beat a Garbodor, even with 2 Tool Scrappers. Usually the way the decks beat Garbodor, like the Blastoise deck, for instance, or a similar Rayquaza deck, can beat Garbodor by Tool Scrappering it and then using that turn where you're allowed to use abilities to load up one big attacker and kind of not have to worry about it from then on. Not many of the decks out right now really try and compete with Garbodor. They just try and give themselves a 1 or 2 turn window. And in this deck, even with the Dowsing Machine to buy you a second turn, you just really don't have the ability to just not worry about Garbodor. Anytime they have a Garbodor out, you can't win the game. And so I think Garbodor is a huge liability to this deck. The list is pretty straightforward from then on. 3 Ultra Ball, 4 Juniper, 4 and 3 Skyla. Standard, you don't want to be discarding too much, and it's one of these decks where once you get set up, assuming they don't play Garbodor, and assuming that you don't make a mistake, once you get set up, you can't lose. You have Crustle will, be able to, you'll always just end up with 10 HP left on Crustle. If you have Reuniclus, others will be fine. If you have Serperior, you have max potions, you should be fine all around. While you need supporters, because you have a lot of stuff set up, once you get set up, you don't need anything. So your early game is very, very important, and your mid and late game are not as important. 3 Beach. I know everyone has requested that I play decks without Beach, and I have been, and I will be. but unfortunately this deck doesn't really function without Beach. I've seen a lot of people play Champions Festivals instead of the Beaches, in addition to the Beaches, which is an option, but I prefer Serperior. Serperior's, I think, is better because it's not a stadium that you have to fight over, and it heals from all your Pokemon, regardless of whether you have 6 or not. And we have 7 fighting, 4 grass, pretty standard. This list, I believe, is Kevin Murphy's. He's a OTBB squad member, a good friend of mine. He was hyping this deck pretty much before everyone, and this is the way I like the deck. Puka has played a version with the Champions Festivals, no Serperiors. I think he had a few other changes as well. Bangle, I think, but I personally like it this way. I think that although it does have some inherent disadvantages that we talked about, can't really beat a Garbodor, and also can't really beat a Dusknoir, because unless you can heal the damage every turn, Dusknoir is going to be a big problem for you, because there's lots of times in this deck, especially in the early game, and especially if you run badly, where you're not going to be able to heal all the damage, so then a Dusknoir can just move it all and put on a Crustle and Protonine that doesn't knock you out. You can play a little bit differently, obviously, if you play against a Dusknoir deck, but in general, it's going to be a very hard matchup for you. So one thing to note about this deck, I touched on it earlier, but Reuniclus and its damage swap ability is really, really awful to use on Pokemon Online. You have to click that you want to use damage swap. You have to then do another click on which Pokemon you want to take the damage from, another click to the Pokemon that you want to put the damage onto, and then click OK to confirm. And you have to do that for every 10 damage, like every 1 damage counter. So with that being said, I'm only going to play 3 matches with this deck. I feel like people want to see it more for the novelty of it than anything. If people like the videos and they want to see more, I will do another 3-match or 5-match run through, but in general, I feel like I just want to show off this deck and kind of have it out there, but I don't want to go through clicking infinite times and opening myself up to misclicks, which are bound to happen. So, that's the deck. We're only going to do 3 matches again. Let me know what you think in the comments. I love you. Good night.